Hello everyone, welcome to the new session of trees, shrubs and climbers. So in this session we are going to study about trees, shrubs and climbers. So this is the topic that we are going to cover up in this particular session, trees, shrubs and climbers. So the trees form the main framework of the garden. So trees are not only present in the garden but they are present in the forest, roadside, along the agricultural land, right? And of course in the garden. So some trees produce attractive and beautiful flowers, including fragrant flowers. Means the flowers is having a beautiful fragrance and they are looking quite attractive also. So the some trees that bear the beautiful flowers, some flowers is having a fragrant. Few trees are noted for their attractive foliage, means their leaves are quite big and quite different. So for that also some trees are noted for these reasons, and few more trees are known for their peculiar shape or form which are used for the specimen tree. And of course there are some trees that gives you fruits, so they are also famous for that. Shady trees are planted in chosen spots of a large public garden which provide places for the picnic and relaxation. So generally in the garden, like that is used for the picnic or relaxation purpose, we opt to have shady trees, the trees that is having a big canopy, so that can provide you shade, right? So such trees are also planted along the borders of roads as avenue for giving shade, right? So this they are planted along the borders of the road also, so that also provide a shade. Not only that, it minimize the noise pollution also. In selecting ornamental trees, the purpose should be decided first and then the place of its culture should be finalized. So for what purpose we are selecting the ornamental trees? So that should be decided first and then the culture should be finalized with trees that we are going to plant as an ornamental tree. Tree is perennial plant and having distinct trunk crown at the top. So basically the trees are perennial. Perennial means that grow for more than years, right? Annual is there, that grows that complete its life cycle in a year, that is annual. And perennial means that grow for a number of years. So the tree is perennial plant having distinct trunk region and crown at the top. So this is the trunk and this crown. This is the crown part that is made up of foliage, leaves, and this the trunk region, that is woody, hardwood. Trees have immense beauty for aesthetic viewpoint. They bring change in the skyline on account of variation in their height, shapes, foliage texture, and flower color. So basically they are very important as they enhance the aesthetic view where they are present. They can bring the change in the skyline, they can bring variation in the height, right? And they are also known for their scenic beauty, right? So the shape of the different trees that add beauty to the place where they are grown, their foliage texture and flower color, that also enhance the aesthetic view of the place where they are growing. They are used in the landscape plan for aesthetic and functional purposes. Trees are used in garden as a specimen, avenue plantation, windbreaks and screening, right? So there are different purposes for growing the trees. So these are the purpose. In the garden they are grown as a specimen, as a avenue plantation, and even for the windbreaks sometime. Along the agricultural field also we use such trees to we plant such trees along the, suppose this is our cropland, so we can have trees along this side, right? and when the wind blow this, it minimize the wind to reach the cropland, right? So this is known as the windbreaks. These trees are used as a windbreaks and also for the screening purpose. Landscaping the backyard with the trees and other plants can help to minimize the bad effect of the pollution. Yes, they are adding beauty to the landscaping, but also the backyard with the trees and other plants can help to minimize the bad effect of the pollution. Yes, they lower down the effect of the pollution. So if we plant more and more trees, our pollution will decline. In addition to purifying the air, plants can help disperse fog, reduce wind speed, reduce noise effect, control erosion, and influence snow deposition. So these are other benefits of growing trees. The first one is that it purifies the air, right? It takes up the excess of the carbon dioxide and it gives you the oxygen. So it is purifying the air. Plant can also help to disperse fog in the winter season. It reduces wind speeds, reduce the noise effect, that it lower down the effect of noise, control erosion because its roots hold the soil particle very tightly, so it do not allow the top layer of the soil to eroded by the agencies of erosion, that is the wind, water and air, right? And it also having the influence snow deposition. So these are all the benefits of growing trees. A judicious planting of trees enhance the beauty of surrounding, and deciduous tree used to landscaping help in cooling down your property in summer. So they are helping in cooling, they're bringing the cooling effect, and also they are adding beauty to our surrounding. They also help in warming it up during the winter months by allowing the sun to shine through. As the trees are the framework of the garden, they should be easy growing, hardy, and requiring little attention. So, if we are planting trees, what type of trees that we want to plant? Minimum our efforts is given to growing the trees, right? So we can choose those trees to be grown, like, so the trees are the framework of the garden, right? Because without a tree our garden will not be completed. So there should be easy growing. Yes, the trees that we are growing in our garden, that should be easy to grow and hardy and requiring little attention only. Once they are planted, we water them regularly, only this much attention. But if you are growing some other plant, right, you are giving attention for the disease, you are giving attention for the eaten up by the different livestock, right? So all these attention that has been given to the other crop. But if we are planting some trees, minimum effort we are, or minimum attention we are going to give. We chose those we chose those trees actually that we are growing in the garden. Woody plants like trees are the backbone of the landscape. So trees provide skyline to the landscape, background for highlighting the architecture, screening of less pleasing sight as the roadside avenues, as screens for the privacy from roads and flats opposite. So not only they are growing in the garden, in the forest, they are present in the forest, but also we are growing trees along the roadside avenues and also in our home for privacy from the roads and flats, even to the flat opposites. One of the place wherein the trees can be extensively planted is on the roadside, which is known as avenue planting. So this is also known as avenue planting, and we can see that along the roadside a number of trees are grown like this, right? So it not only the minimizing the you can say noise pollution, right? There's noise from the car, from the bus, and here the homes are there, lot of homes. So when These sounds are produced by the moving vehicle. These trees that are present along the roadside screens and do not allow the noise to reach to our home site. So they are planted on the roadside. Not only this, that reduces the pollution, air pollution also. So this is a benefit of growing trees along the roadside. This has two aspects, namely beauty and utility. Both these aspects can be combined by careful planting and judicious selection of the right tree species. So, growing the trees along the roadside not only adding the beauty, but also it is very utilizing effect. That is, it minimizes the air pollution, it minimizes the noise pollution. So the right selection of tree is very, very important that we are going to grow along the roadside. Roadside plantation help in noise abatement also to reduce the noise generated by the high speed traffic on the national highway to tolerable limits, that is up to 20 to 30 meter wide belts of the trees, and shrubs may be necessary. So along the trees, shrubs are also grown. To reduce the noise generated by the moderate speed traffic in the cities, that is 7 to 15 meter wide, belts of trees and the shrubs may be required. So in the city, that is for the highway. Now in the city, 7 to 15 meter wide tree belt should be grown so that it can minimize the noise pollution as well as the air pollution. Evergreen trees are the better for the noise abatement than deciduous trees, which do not afford a barrier to sound when leafless. So evergreen trees generally along the roadside, evergreen trees are grown because throughout the year they are having those foliage leaves. But if we plant deciduous trees, the trees shed off their leaves to a particular season, and at that particular time they are not going to control the noise as well as the air pollution. So evergreen trees are generally favored to grow along the roadside. Recently, planting in strips along the railway lines are also becoming popular. So not only to the roadside, nowadays planting in strips along the roadside are also adapted. The main objective are stabilization of the railway track and protection of railway track against the erosion and checking of the shifting sand in the desert areas getting on the railway track. So railway track should be intact because they are placed on the soil only. And if there is a continuous rainfall, then what will happen? The soil particle that can be eroded and it can distract the railway track. So if we plant trees along the railway track, what will happen? The roots of these trees hold the soil particle, right? And they can also absorb the water. So our railway track will be intact and the soil erosion can be checked in that way. From the point of view of the safety of the railway traffic, the first row of trees should not be planted very close to the railway track. This is very, very important that the trees, the railway, the line of the trees, that should not be very close to the railway track. It should be quite away from the railway track. The first row of trees accordingly recommended to be planted at a distance of about 7.5 meter away from the center of the track. So if the center of the track is this, then our tree should be planted in this way, like this. Why so? And what is the distance here? 7.5 meter. Here also 7.5 meter, right? Okay, now classification of trees. So according to the use of the tree, like they are used for the shade, some trees are used as an ornamental and some trees are flowering. So for the shade, for the ornamental, as an ornamental tree and as a flowering tree, so these are the different types of trees that we are using. The first one is Shade or foliage trees. A shade tree is a large tree whose primary role is to provide shade in the surrounding environment due to its spreading canopy and crown. So generally the shade tree is having big canopy that only it can provide shade on the ground. So wherever there is a requirement of the shade, we can plant such trees that is having a big canopy or spreading canopy or crown. It gives shelter from the sunlight on the heat of the summer for people who seek recreational needs in the urban parks and house yards, and thus also protecting them from the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays and the sunburns. Not only this is done for the people, they are the homes for so many biodiversity, so many organisms that can live on those trees, right? So they are not only giving shelter and sun protecting the sunlight to the different biodiversities, but they are also protecting people, and we can use these shade trees for our recreational needs. We can go to the park, we can play there, we can sit there, we can relax there, and they are protecting us from the harmful ultraviolet rays also. Therefore, some shade trees may be grown specifically for the comfort of the population due to their convenient shelter. So, for the shelter purpose or for the comfort, we can plant some of the shade trees. Furthermore, the shade trees are also effective in reducing the energy used in cooling home. Some of the most popular shade trees in the temperate countries are oak, plane trees, willows, birches, beeches, maple, ashes, lindens, and elms. So these are some of the examples of the shade trees. Subtropical countries like Australia, India, figs are a popular choice as a shade tree. As I've already told you, the tree that are having big canopy that can be used as a shade tree. So fig is one of the example, and this is also known as keystone species. So what are the keystone species? The species that helps other biodiversity to withstand there, to live, like, and when this particular species it cut off or removed from that ecosystem, that whole ecosystem get collapsed, right? So tropical countries, trees such as some Erythrina and the African tulip trees species are often planted as a shade tree. So these in the tropical countries, what we are growing, Erythrina and African tulip. These are the two trees that we can grow as in the tropical countries for the shade. But for the subtropical, we can grow fig tree. That is very, very popular. Okay, some of this other shade trees, okay, that are carob tree, Chinese elm, and the Indian horse chestnut. These are some of the examples. Some of the shade trees, other shade trees are the Austrian oak, brush box, banyan tree. Ornamental tree. Now the second class, that is the ornamental tree. After the shade tree, we are having second type, that is ornamental tree. Ornamental tree shall mean a small tree that is that has high visual impact due to its flowers, shape, interesting form, or other attractive characters such as dogwood, flowering crab apple, and Japanese maple. So these ornamental trees are grown for their beautiful flowers, for their different shapes, for their interesting form, and other attractive characters. Ornamental tree means the plant are cultivated for their beauty and intended to be managed on an annual or the biennial basis rather than for their natural use. So basically they are used for they are grown actually for their beauty rather than for natural use. That include but not limited to foundation shrubbery, clipped hedges, and the fruit trees that produce fruit for the human consumption. So there are so many trees also that bear very beautiful flowers. Some of the examples of the ornamental trees are beech tree, that is Fagus, sugar maple, that is Acer saccharum, eastern white pine, Pinus strobus, and the Canadian hemlock, that is Tsuga canadensis. Some other examples: leyland and cypress, that is Cypress capris, uh, leylandi, and maiden hair tree, that is Ginkgo biloba, and hawthorn, that is Crataegus. So these are some of the examples of the uh, ornamental trees. Some more examples of the flowering trees, that is the Indian laburnum, that is Cassia fistula. This is having a very beautiful yellow flower. Pride of India, Lageristomia speciosa. This also bears a very beautiful flowers of pink, purple, and white color. Kachna tree, Bauhinia, very beautiful flower. So all these trees are very famous for their beautiful flowers. Some other examples are the silk cotton tree, Bombyx, flame of the forest, Butia monosperma, and the Indian coral tree, that is Erythrina variegata. So these are the examples of the flowering tree that is grown as a ornamental tree. Now, shrubs. Next category, that is shrubs. Shrubs are the plants with a woody stem which are smaller than trees but bigger than herbaceous plants. So they are quite smaller than tree but they are bigger than the herbaceous plant. A typical shrub will have several stems arising from the main stem and ground level itself. So they can be either evergreen or deciduous. So shrub can also, like the trees can be evergreen, the trees can be deciduous. In the same way, shrub can be evergreen or deciduous. Some are attractive in their foliage, some produce attractive flowers, and some are grown for their attractive berries even. A stretch of shrub are established as a border on the side of walks and paths in the garden. Shrubs are planted at the corners of the lawns in the curving line. A shrubbery is an area planted with the different kinds of shrubs, and the shrub border is one where only one kind of shrub is used. So different kinds of shrubs are there. So and a shrub border is also there where only one type of shrub is grown. Shrub that stand frequent pruning and trimming can be used for the topiary work. So we can use this. We generally grow a shrub that can be frequently pruned or trimmed out. Okay, and that can be used as a topiary work, means that gives you that we give a different shapes to the shrubs. So the tall growing shrubs can be used to screen the disagreeable object at the backyard. Handsome shrubs can be made attractive pot plants for the indoor and outdoor decoration. So generally for the indoor and outdoor decoration we use some shrubs. Shrubs can prevent architectural features like glass doors and the windows from conducting heat, thereby keeping the overall temperature of the interiors down. So wherever we are having the glass window or the glass doors, we can have the shrub, so that can minimize the temperature, right? And also add beauty to our interiors. On an average, landscaped house can save at least 40% on energy bills as compared to a house that lacks this feature. Now, importance of shrubs. So being permanent, they form the park of the framework of the garden. So when they are present in the garden, they become the framework. Like trees are also the framework for the garden, but yes, shrub can also be form a framework. So they form the chief feature of the landscape, gardening placed in the front of the tall trees and the joining the spacious lawn. Shrubs which are amenable for the frequent training are chosen for the topiary work. So you must have seen that sometime there is a green big rabbit in the garden like this. So it takes a lot of effort that grow whole this shrub in the shape of different animals, different, not only the different animal, they can give any type of shape, right? So this is called as the topiary work and it takes a lot of efforts. So tall growing shrubs often serves as a screen. They are useful as a single specimen in the lawn. They can be trained to form a standards, that is trained to single stem and allowed to branch out to form a handsome head only above a particular height, that is Bougainvillea, Ixora and Murraya exotica. So these are some of the plant that can have a single branch, right? A single stem, and they can have a beautiful branch like this. So we can maintain our shrub in that ways. Right? Botanically, plants which have a special structure to climb on supports are defined as climbers. So our third category of the plant, that is climbers and creepers. So these are the plant which is having the special structures to climb and support and defined as climbers. So they are basically a weak plant and they required some support to be erect so that they can capture light, right? Climbers are very important ornamental plant and are commonly used on walls, arches and pergolas, but in cities their utility is increased for the purpose of screening the premises and adjacent houses and maintaining the privacy. So the climbers are used for these purposes in the cities. So bare walls can be most effectively decorated by the growing colorful climbers. So the bare wall doesn't look so beautiful, right? We all know. But if we grow some climbers along these bare walls, they add beauty to that. Climbers are defined as a plant which possesses special structures to climb over a support. These special structure may be hook-like thorns. So generally, these climbers are having thorns. Sometimes they are also having the tendrils. Creepers are those plants which are unable to climb vertically on their own because of their weak stem. So the creepers that creep on the ground, like this. So we must have seen the garden nasturtium. So it is having a very beautiful flower, orange and yellow color, but it creep on the ground. Most climbers are the perennials, but there are a few annuals which can be grown in the pots or in the hanging basket or in the low trellises. So Ipomia, Thunbergia, Clitoria are some of the climbers that are propagated by the layers and cuttings. So by the layering, by the cutting method, we can propagate these climbers. Proper training is essential for the climbers to be at their best. Climbers which are to be trained over screens and trellises should be induced from the base of the plant to cover them completely. This is achieved by pinching of the terminal bud to induce a lateral branching. Even they are about 30 to 40 centimeter high. So when they are around 30 to 40 centimeter high, we can induce lateral branching so that they can be more flourish by this branching method. In case of climbers over arches, Per goals and trees, one or two leader shoots may be trained to the top of the branch out. So we can have one or two leader shoots, right? And they can be trained to reach up to the top of the tree or to the top of the building. Uses of climbers in gardens. Certain climbers are grown in the garden for their attractive foliage. Asparagus, spraguery, ficus, repens, hedra, helix, and Scindapsus aureus. So these are some of the examples of the climbers. Some light climbers can be defined as screens in the garden. So that is Bignonia, Venusta, Giacomontia, Voilis, and Passiflora edulis. So these are some of the examples. And climbers like Alamanda, Antigonon, Aristolochia, Elegans, Solenum, Seaforthanium can be used as arches, bowers, and pergolas. Heavy climbers like Bougainvillea, Scindapsus, and Petria volubilis can be trained over the strong pergolas on the trees, which look very attractive. So this is all about this session. We have completed this topic, that is the trees, shrubs, and climbers, right? So we have seen that our vegetation can be in a different forms. That can be in the form of tree, that can be in the form of shrub, that can be in the form of climbers. And we know that we are having so many different examples. So you have to remember these examples. It can be asked in the examination. Thank you very much.